Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another video. I hope you're all doing well today. In this video I want to talk about sailing and where it's kind of placed itself within the game of old school RuneScape, where we are. It's been a month since its release. You're probably already thinking, why the hell am I at Chambers of Xeric while talking about sailing? But I promise there is a link between this raid and the discussion of sailing that I have today that I really want to talk about. But first, I just want to go out and say that it's been a month since sailing's out, and I want to talk about the topic of sailing, what it's done to the game, where it's at, if I'm actually impressed with it or not, and I also want to know what you guys think about sailing. What's your favorite part of sailing? What's the worst part about it? What do you feel like they could improve on? What should Jagex's priorities be? Because they did that poll like 2 days ago, and it was kind of like an indicator that Jagex doesn't really know where to go from here with sailing, which is kind of weird given it's only been out for a month, but we can discuss that in just a moment. But if you have any thoughts or opinions you want to share, please put them in the comment section down below. I read all the comments and I like to reply to the ones that I can. Anyone trolling gets a nice juicy voice message of consistent Australian abuse, so all the haters and the hate watchers out there, they get a bit of love too. But in the meantime, I do want to talk about sailing, and if you have any opinions or any content you want to share as well, I am also live 5 days a week right here on YouTube and on Kick at kick.com/King Condor. So hit the like and subscribe button down below. I'd greatly appreciate that. And you can come by to the live streams anytime. Call me a dickhead. Speak your mind. If I'm doing something wrong, you don't like me, I don't give a fuck. Come by, let me know. I appreciate the engagement nonetheless. You guys are awesome. I wouldn't be here without you all. But let's talk about sailing now and where we're sitting as a community for old school RuneScape. Number one thing I kind of want to lay out, the foundation for this video, is that I don't think Jagex was fully prepared for the release of sailing. I think they released a good chunk of content. I think they were ready to release some content for sailing, but I feel like there were a lot of cut corners or a lot of, this might be just my opinion, but a bit of panic at Jagex HQ to get something out for the people. I definitely think they could have let it cook for another 6 months and given us a bit more content, a bit more refined content, especially a bit more insight on the combat system. I know they did a combat beta, but it just feels really, I don't know if rushed is the correct word, but I don't think they're using the right kind of polish over there at Jagex HQ at the moment. But I will come out and say at the same time that sailing, I think, was way better than I expected it to be. I am a day one sailing no voter through and through. I was always against sailing. I didn't think it should be a skill. I always thought that it was definitely wasted potential, and making it a skill limits the sailing content. I don't know if that is still true today. I guess we'll find out. But since doing the betas and actually playing the game mode, I found myself really enjoying it. I think they have done a good job just as like the concept of the skill. But fuck me, there are some flaws. Holy shit. I'm not even going to begin ranting about that fucking current duck. That is probably my pet peeve with this sailing skill. Thank God I've done all of the what are they called, the charting tasks now. Until obviously new oceans have opened up. It does suck that they had all these oceans available and never let us really touch them. They just kind of said, yeah, we're going to release these at a later date. It's good to know they've got future content planned, but I feel like they've got a lot of future content planned that they probably could have let cook a bit more. I know we've got quest lines coming in the near future, but this poll yesterday, I don't know if you saw my latest upload or if you participated in the sailing opinion poll yourself, but they're asking what they should be prioritizing. They're asking what we want to see next in sailing. I feel like as game devs, they should know from day one what sailing needs. It's only been out a month. Like there should be more, I guess, more of a direction that the JMods are taking here on what to put into the game. And I'm usually quite a big advocate in support of JMods and Jagex. A lot of people, creators and players like to criticize them every chance they get. I like to give Jagex the benefit of the doubt most of the time, but I feel like I really want to be a bit more critical with sailing, because at the end of the day, of course, the fact that I play this game for a living, I do want sailing to work. I want it to succeed. So I don't want to just kind of let them off the hook with little half-assed updates and shit like the other day, this week. It was just a nothing burger of an update. I don't want to kind of give them a pass on that shit like I normally would with other content, because this is kind of a big deal. And I found myself, I'm in two minds with sailing. The first thing is, I really enjoyed sailing. I found for like the first 2 weeks, I couldn't stop sailing. It was great fun. I think a lot of people are still sailing now today. But the second problem I have with sailing is as soon as I stopped sailing, and the first thing I did, I went from sailing to doing a little bit of Slayer, but mostly looking for Frost Dragons, so that was whatever. But the first thing I did after like the sailing hype was starting to die off is I came to Chambers of Xeric, this raid right here. And it made me realize that sailing just is not ready. It is not... It's old school RuneScape, but it's very weak in terms of old school RuneScape. It's a very basic form of old school RuneScape. After doing Cox again, especially doing like solo Olm, you just get there's a level of mechanical depth and enjoyment in this raid alone. I mean, I am a big... this is my favorite raid. In my opinion, this is the best raid they've ever made. So there is a bit of bias here, but just doing that solo Olm, I really just sat there and felt, man, I don't get this satisfaction out of sailing. Moving, playing tick perfect, like maneuvering around the room and enjoying the mechanics that, whether they're intentional or not, that are part of this raid, just really made me realize that sailing is they're either trying to make it too clean and too perfect, or they just haven't got enough content yet. I'm not entirely sure what it is, but it's just this one raid specifically is what brought me back. And I feel like if you're doing a lot of sailing right now and you haven't left sailing, you might come back to content like this. Or if you don't do this content, maybe even like what's it called, Turns of a Mascot, or what's that the other not Tob, like Yama, Doom, even Moons of Peril. You might find yourself doing some content you used to enjoy and going, holy shit, sailing's good, but it doesn't really scratch the same itch the rest of the game does. And I know it will in time. That's the point. They want the game, or they want sailing to be incorporated with the rest of the game eventually. Unfortunately, it also feels like that the best and almost only way to do that is to hit sailing with a raid and some world bosses and some content that is mostly PVM related. And I mean, does that speak is that a problem that sailing has, or is that a problem that old school RuneScape has, that they can't incorporate skilling safely into the rest of the game? I don't entirely know. It just really brings out, I have a hard time deciding personally if it is a flaw with sailing or if it's a flaw with the game. But really, coming back to doing a raid and just getting back to the roots of old school RuneScape, sailing works, but it just is not there yet, which is why I again feel like the release of sailing was a little bit too rushed. I understand that they were excited and that there's a fair bit of hype behind releasing sailing, and it was a successful launch. They did a great job not having the servers crash and to make sure the people that were on the Jagex launch were able to log straight in. That was really well done, and I'm glad they're on top of that issue now. But if they left it another 6 months, would they find more success long term with sailing? I don't know. It feels weird them saying, yeah, we're not going to be doing much now till early 2026. So we know the first month or so is going to be sailing and Deadman mode content, right? Is that a problem? Some people may have an issue with that. I feel like sailing combat, I mean, I'm happy to wait till then, but look at how rare the Dragon Metal Sheets are and the Dragon Kill parts are just from like Great White Sharks alone. It is kind of dirty. Man, this guy won't die. It's kind of dirty how much combat you need to do just to get Dragon Salvaging Hooks and Dragon Metal Sheets. Just to know and sit there now that in about a month's time, maybe, if we're lucky, they're going to start looking at new combat changes. We don't even know if they're going to bring new changes then, but they're going to be looking at it at least. So it makes me less inclined to actually do sailing at this point, you know? I don't want to sit there and do Barracuda Trials until 99. That is main account content. I think that's pretty obvious at this point because of how rare everything is, and I'm okay with that. I fully endure the Ironman life. I don't mind having to grind my own shit. I know it's a slower and longer path than main accounts. It's what some would deem a more challenging path. That's totally fine. I'm not going to spam 99 on the best XP per hour method because I don't want to be 99 sailing with rune hooks and rune cannons. Unfortunately, it looks like that way with my RNG. You may as well use the time to actually get the items that you want. They're just incredibly fucking rare. They made the Dragon Metal Sheets from Frost Dragons pretty decent, but the Frost Dragons are too hard to get as well from Slayer Tasks. I understand that they're really trying to encourage this rarity system a bit more. They want to make items rarer so they hold their value for longer. It just feels like, given the nature of old school RuneScape and the rest of the game, they went a bit too hard on how rare these items should be. especially considering that you can't reuse facilities. So once you make a cannon, if you need to move that cannon or a hook or even a trolling net, you don't get the dragon cannon back. You don't get the metal sheets back. That's it. Normally that's fine on every other tier, but every other tier doesn't take fucking level 87 to 95 just to get one dragon cannon barrel. You know, if they introduce new boats in the future where there are more combat inclined boats, or they make adjustments to combat and you need to move your dragon cannon around, you're kind of fucked. It's kind of game over there. So I don't know how they're going to work their way around that eventually. I'd imagine they'll just let you move or flat pack your cannon parts, which they did mention on the poll that they would probably do. So I can imagine, I can see them doing that in the near future. It just seems like a bit of an oversight to have day one, especially little things like just the fact that the Griffin jar of feathers didn't work in the player own house. The Barracuda Trials gives everyone the outfit at the key, like the first tier, and you can't store that outfit in the player own house. I feel like that's very basic, like common sense day one, like the textbook development is if you're going to add cosmetic outfits, you make sure you can put it in the player own house. If you're adding a jar, make sure you can put it in the player own house. Like instead it was used in the poll as an example as to what you might want to see as a small change or a small tweak or some shit. Like, sure, I know that's an example, but like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Making adjustments to Gwyneth Glide crystals, and they're making adjustments to not get people stuck on the Barracuda Trials scoreboard at the first one. Like, that just sounds like something people can reverse their ass out of. Like, the Jagex is aware of these issues, but they're developing less important problems, I guess. At the end of the day, cosmetics in player own house isn't an important issue at the same time, right? But it is what you would expect as a base, like, checklist before content comes to the game. Hey guys, we're bringing a new boss, it drops a jar. Let's make sure you can, I don't know, fucking put it in the player own house. This Bofa is so shit here, man. I need a T-bow bad or a shadow. But just like, it doesn't take, it like there should be a checklist or something. It just makes me feel like they're not fully organized at the moment, which is really disappointing. Again, being someone who's usually quite supportive of the J-mods and gives them the benefit of the doubt. And, you know, I was involved a little bit with helping them, not so much developing sailing, but, you know, I was in conversations with J-mods and back and forth, and they were asking for feedback on things, and I've tried my best, even through my videos, to give my feedback where I can. And it's not that I feel unheard in any way, of course. Like, I don't expect them to directly listen to me. I know I'm the most level-headed and straightforward fucking creator out there with the most player-ready takes. I'm here for the people, by the people. But my ego is also fully... I'm aware of my ego and where I sit. I don't expect them to actually listen to me or take my opinion seriously, considering I don't know shit about game development. But there are some very obvious, like, as someone who isn't a game developer but is quite experienced in life with critical thinking, I guess, considering I've had a full-time job before, I feel like you should, there's just some things that I just go, man, how do you make this mistake? How is this not like just a standard work practice to, when a boss is brought into the game, guys, let's make sure the jar has a fucking place in the player own house. Why rush it? Let's not even talk about that Shellbane Griffin fucking drop table. Oh my god, I waited, oh fuck. I waited 3 weeks. Well, I didn't wait 3 weeks. I was forced to wait 3 weeks before I was able to get my first Shellbane Griffin Slayer task. 3 weeks that took me. And I was quite disappointed because that boss, I mean, it was a mid-game boss, super easy, I get that. But why the fuck am I getting watermelons and strawberries and empty fucking baskets on a drop table? Again, it's one of those things like, well, that's the law, that's just how the Shellbane Griffin works. Yeah, that's really cute and all, but also, fuck you. Like, what? Like, why am I getting fucking whole watermelons? Why are you dropping this? Why is it one basket? At least make it a basket of strawberries, because then someone will find that fucking useful. Like, there's got to be a middle ground here, but Jesus. Sometimes the drops, I just really think they're trying to fuck with us just to really see how, like, tilted someone like me can get doing a boss like that. It is a super easy, super straightforward boss. Mechanically, I have zero issues with it. I like that it's simple, mid-game. You can fly through it with best and slot gear. Absolutely, makes sense. What I don't like is, that I mentioned in Rune News this week, is combat achievements. Where the fuck are they? What, like, how do we not have combat tasks ready to go? How is that not I don't know if it needs to be a priority, but I feel like a month. We got the Doom combat tasks earlier than that. Yama combat tasks came out, I think, in a similar time. But this is a Shellbane Griffin. This isn't a very high-end boss. It doesn't need many tasks. You probably need, what, 5 or 6 tasks? Going to be a KC task, a speedrun task, and probably to kill it with that fucking dog shit rapier, or I don't know, do it after maximizing a tornado. I can't imagine it being a very difficult to develop or difficult to greenlog. Yet we are now forced to wait till after Christmas. It doesn't fuck with people who are Grandmaster at the moment. Sure, I'm pretty sure they get to keep their helmets until the tasks are released. It just feels like another quite simple lack of development time, and maybe initiative is the word. How is this not already in the game? I don't fucking know. But I guess we'll find out when... Fucking run. I guess we'll find out when it comes next year. I'll be very shocked if they do an update next week. I haven't actually seen whether they will or won't do an update next week. It will be Christmas Eve. So I won't be surprised if they say, no, we're not doing an update next week. But I don't think they've actually said yes or no yet. It'd be nice if they did and they dropped the combat tasks and whatnot. But knowing that that's pretty much going to be it until early January, maybe second week of January, then we know their focus is going to be on the Rune Fest, Summer Summit, or yeah, it's not Rune Fest, it's the Winter Summit, right? And then you got the Deadman coming up, so I'm all for them obviously focusing on that content, but I feel like it was a rough time to release this skill with such a big break coming up. It wouldn't be such a big deal if they didn't have so many, I guess, ums and ahs and holes in their plans when it comes to developing the skill. It just seems very poorly timed. I don't think it's any like one individual person's fault, or I mean, I don't know if it's like the feedback they're getting just isn't accurate enough. Are they listening to the wrong people? The whole XP change system, like remember when they did that XP nerf on salvaging, then rebuffed it? That was very out of pocket. Probably not the smartest move for them to make on the spot, given that people were really upset with it, of course, but I feel like there was little insight into the community's desires there. It was just straight up what Jagex wants, which at the end of the day makes sense. It's their game and they obviously have the game's best interests at heart, but I feel like they really sometimes show they're out of touch with the community and what the community wants. The whole relying on people to actually calculate whether they want to do like tick manipulation methods is really bad. They should really step away from that. I've been very vocal about that. One thing JMod's really put into practice, or wanted to really make a point about after sailing, I think it was the first sailing beta, when P.O Box Jong released the video of him doing like 1.5 tick salvaging or some shit. That's really cool that he was able to do that. I mean, he does that shit with everything. But Jagex was really like, okay, we can really use this as a baseline for XP rates and training methods. No, that is a bad fucking idea, because you're basically like appeasing to a minority of the game that really doesn't want to do that shit. Hence why they're a fucking minority, right? We don't need to worry about that in any other skill. We shouldn't be focusing on that in sailing. It's bad enough that they do it with mining. Like mining XP rates are limited by the fact that you can like tick manipulate it at granite or sandstone or whatever the fuck it is, right? So people now tick manipulate over there, and it's fucked the rest of mining XP until the end of time, because if you have any mining method that's better XP rates than that, regardless of how fun it is, people will get upset because it ruins the credibility and the integrity of the players that did it before the update. It's the same sort of idea as to why they won't add XP boost to rune crafting, because if there's any decent rune crafting method that's remotely fun with XP rates that goes beyond making lava runes, the players that did it back in the day, that did it the hard way, will be like, well, that's not real rune crafting. You've taken away the time that we put into this skill. Just people being self-entitled little assholes for no reason. And unfortunately, Jagex tends to lean into that. I get the community inclusion and wanting to be community like driven devs. That's totally cool. I love that. But there should also be a line where you don't want to be parasocial with your community, right? Like there are some devs that are actually way too friendly with certain community members, which gives them favoritism above other players, whether it helps them get unbanned, helps them get included in putting out ideas for content and whatnot. I totally get it. You're always going to have that in the system, but you also have to remember that just because someone is your friend, it doesn't mean they've actually got good ideas. And I feel like that's something that's a life experience or life lesson that pretty much people need to take to the grave, no matter who the fuck you are. It shows a lot. You know, there's a lot of sailing influence from specific people that, while they do a good job, but they don't always do the right job, you know? So I feel like there just needs to be a little bit more of a line in the sand drawn with JMods and the community. In my opinion, just from what I see on Twitter, it's great that they're friends. It's great that they're able to communicate and have this back and forth communication. But you just have to remember that players aren't developers, and players have their own agendas. And if you let players fuel their own agendas, then you're going to get content that is not fair, is not even, and is not actually good either. It's just, why am I wearing my Prems? Damn it. I just realized I bought the wrong boots. Doesn't matter. They're all dog shit anyway. That's their mole slippers. So it's just important to remember that if you ask me questions, I'm going to give you, I try to give my opinions and design content around what players want, because I feel like I'm a very people player content creator. I like to make sure that, I find that the content I enjoy in this game is mostly what players enjoy anyway. But you will always and absolutely will find that sometimes I'm going to suggest content that, you know what, I actually would rather this instead, because that suits my agenda and my needs, whether it's XP rates, whether it's fucking time spent fingering my dad, it's whatever. I think it's just important to remember that. Whether JMods will ever understand that or hear that, who fucking knows. It's just it's a flaw that I see, and I just don't want to see that affecting Sailing's progression and Sailing's development at the end of the day, because look at this port task system. Like, Jagex really wants to drive home this port task narrative. They want us to enjoy port tasks. I get that. They worked really hard to have this as the core gameplay loop for part of Sailing, but fuck me, the concept is just shit. Like, some ideas are just always bad. Agility is just bad no matter what you do, right? You can't really stop that. It is what it is. But you can at least create other content around it that takes people completely away from port tasks, which is what they have done. But they still want to really push this. Port task can be really good. Port task XP rate, sure, it's fine. Boring content with good XP. But the rewards is just, you just get GP for gold, right? So you're getting, what, 130k GP an hour doing port tasks? I feel like if you're going to have that sort of gold reward, it's really underwhelming. The XP rates are nice, sure, but I feel like port tasks, just in general, really need a bit of love when it comes to being rewarded outside of XP rates. Yes, I know the bounty task can give you good XP, or gold, sorry, if you get a good drop, but also if you have good RNG on the bounty task, you're spending more time going to and from ports and bounty tasks than you are actually, making money or whatever, It's just handing in rewards and repeat. So, I don't know, like the port task system I just kind of avoid at this point. I've even started avoiding bounty tasks just because it's easier to go camp great whites than it is to find like a port task with great white sharks. Whether they incorporate it into Slayer or some shit one day, I don't know. That'll be kind of nice. Let's get over here real quick. But that being said, if I get a T-bow from this raid, I'm going to be a very happy person. I won't give a fuck what they do with Sound. They can go nuts. But until then, just need to make sure I can survive this fucking fight without getting fingered, and we're all good. Summon the melee thrall, sweet as. Look, I'm a big fucking Yaposaurus Rex, don't get me wrong, I can yap all day long, but the fact that I've been yapping pretty much this entire raid non-stop speaks volumes to my talent and my ability to be an annoying little cunt. So I appreciate you guys if you're still listening at this point, and if there's a purple at the end of this raid and it's a T-bow, I'm going to give myself a wristy, so hopefully I can just pick up on the RNG a bit here. I definitely want to get some more oath plate, which you can't do while sailing, which is another point. I just found that, sailing, it's fun. I think sailing has a lot of group potential, which could be really good, but there's just certain points of sailing where I go, yeah, this needs more work. And yeah, they are making improvements. I find that the charting system, I like the idea of the charting system. I feel like it definitely could be some sort of like log in the combat, or was it account summary, character summary page rather than a book, just so it's a little more easy to manage. Well, it wasn't overly bad, but RuneLite fixes all your problems, right? Even in the poll, they were like, how do you feel about us making charting systems easier? It's like, bro, RuneLite does it, and they do it. Like, why bother trying to combat that? Like, just either make a plugin for your official client that is a copy of RuneLite and what they do, or just let RuneLite take control of it. It's how like the rest of the game is designed and developed and played at the moment. It may as well steer into the skid and just keep RuneLite going. It's the pioneer when it comes to playing this game. Fucking why not? Shevek salvaging is perfect in my opinion. I love it. I mean, I do prefer the old XP rates, of course, but it's still super AFK, and if it means I get slower XP per hour, and overall slower XP per salvage, but that means I have a better chance to get the Dragon Cannon Barrel, my second one before 99 sailing, then I'm kind of all for it. I don't have the Dragon Hooks yet, so I'm really just sitting there on Rune Hooks, which I think is still fine. I feel like they will have to rebalance those along with the cannons in the future, because the cannons are definitely just not worth it. The fact that it's better to do like bow for combat on the boat with 2 people on the cannons, I don't know if I like that or not, because it encourages you to use the NPCs, right? But it also means that you're never really using your boat facilities as a player. You're just kind of sitting there and using your normal combat ship. So I would rather the boat be, like the cannon be far more useful if you're on it, or the NPC is slightly more powerful. Like they're asking about having like cannonball saving facilities like an Avers. I'm all for that, of course. I don't think anyone is against that at all. But I also think that there could be like mechanical improvements to the boat that they're kind of just not talking about. One that I've always pushed for is the ability to, like, if you're on the boat, right? You, like, there might be, think of it like Giant's Foundry, where there's like a ping while you're shooting, and if you click the cannon in time, then you get you can like shoot 2 cannonballs at once, but only use 1 cannon. Oh, for fuck's sake, there's no way I just got caught in the flame wall on fucking camera, dude. Oh no! Oh my god. I was not watching, I apologize. I should have like corrected the special attack there before I got portals, that's my fault. Fucking idiot. So, yes, I feel like that if there's like a mechanic that either makes you shoot the cannon a little faster, or uses more cannonball, so it hits multiple times for just 1 cannonball, would be really good. That'd be super beneficial, and just like it's a little way that shows that if you're on the cannon and you're paying attention, you can maximize your DPS and really outperform being on the Boffer or something. Otherwise, sure, just upgrading accuracy and max hit is just going to eventually break the game, right? Because NPCs will just melt. Once you start 3-hitting Great White Sharks, you've got a problem from the dev team. So I don't think they need to really push too much harder on how well the cannon performs, and just more about how mechanically inclined the cannon can get. I feel like is a better way to put it. There's the resistances system I don't think is fully incorporated on the boats at the moment. It's just basic defense and then a tiny bit of magic resistance. Facilities that come out in the future that increase certain resistances will be really good, but it's just another one of those things where until we know what Jagex wants to do, we don't really know shit. Fucking last phase. The boat fucking sucks in the head phase. I'm not looking forward to it. My god. What else is there? Deep sea trolling. I wanted to do deep sea trolling, but I found that I need to have... What's it called? Oops. I need to have ray barbs, which is fine, but killing stingrays fucking sucks. Who would have thought? So... I need to do that before I make my second boat. I've got a bunch of wood and shit ready to go. Cut a bunch of rosewood and realize I'm not really going to use it, which is obviously where the sawmill voucher system falls apart, because they made endgame sailing essentially dead on release. Like T-Piper Slice said it best in his video. They put this skill out and there's just no in-game content. It was super rushed. Fully agree with that. Rosewood has like no place at the moment. There's no point going for Rosewood and Dragon upgrades unless you're going to just spam Barracuda Trials. Otherwise, it's just nowhere near fucking worth your time, which is really disappointing. And on top of that, so apparently I didn't know this, but all farming tree patches have the old woodcutting mechanics. They're not forestry woodcutting mechanics. So when I was on Fossil Island cutting rosewood, I was out here losing my mind because I'm like, why the fuck is my tree just falling down when I'm trying to like cut rosewood logs? I'm getting like 4 logs and it's falling down. Turns out trees just do that if they're farm, like grown through farming, which is really annoying. So thanks for that, Jagex, your dogs. So I've got a little bit of rosewood, but just it's not worth my time going to actually cut at the moment. So why fucking bother, you know? Just keep pushing, keep waiting, and stick to camphor. Ironwood's not even worth it at the end of the day because your boat's tanky enough. The speed doesn't change, so it just feels like it's not worth it right now. I think eventually it will be, especially with later PVM, raids, world bosses, which I think is a huge priority they should be focusing on leading into 2026, is bringing more group-based endgame, level 99 plus, team-based sailing content would be really good and enjoyable, and will actually encourage us to have high-end boats, because I don't even know if dragon cannons are worth having at the moment other than to flex. But I mean, look, people are using bronze cannonballs because it's far better GP per damage than using fucking steel or mithril, you know? Mithril is really good because it's easy to acquire, so there is that, but that's more of an Ironman route than anything, going to Port Wobbits, I think it is. So it's just, yeah, it's a lot of imbalance that I feel like, I mean, it needs to be road tested by the community, right? They were never going to be able to get it right on day one by releasing and testing in the office. They just don't have the time. They don't have the manpower. They don't have the people. It's the same reason why, like, you'll buy a Ford Focus, right? Because you're retarded, but then you buy a Ford Focus, that's the main point. And then 10 years later, they'll do a recall because your seatbelts are fucked. Or the airbags are fucking blowing people's faces open with shrapnel when they pop. And it's like, why didn't they know this from day one? Because they didn't have enough field testing. Because they don't have 10 years to test a car like that or test products like that. So you become the guinea pig as a person that, as a consumer, right? It's the same logic, same concept. You become the guinea pig, Jagex finds the flaws, we report it, they make the adjustments, Bob's your uncle. Good stuff. It annoys people, but it's literally just the best way to fix this sort of content and get a gauge on what's actually going on, because the community always changes its mind as well, right, on what they want. Like that time that everyone wanted HD, but then like 4 years prior, no one wanted HD and told Jagex to keep it old school. Now all of a sudden 117's out, everyone wants HD. Just the community is just as retarded. I think Jagex and the JMod team could work a bit better on sailing in general. No purple here, so if they can adjust my RNG too, that'd be great, because this is just fucking horseshit. Adamant Titan Silver Ore, two things I'm never going to fucking use. That's me rambling for about 32 minutes and playing like an absolute fucking scrub in Chains of Xeric. Never lucky. But hopefully sailing comes through 2026 and is somewhat more enjoyable than it already is. I feel like, yeah, overall it's good. It can be better. It should be better. And it will be better. It's just going to take some time, and Jagex is slowly getting there. They just kind of exposed themselves this week, in my opinion, that they don't know entirely what the fuck to do or what is going on. That's my opinion. Much love to you all. I do appreciate the JMods and what they do, and I appreciate you guys for listening to me yap while raiding for 35 minutes straight. You guys are the best. Suck a fat cock, and I'll see you guys in the live stream sometime this week over on YouTube or at Kick. Have a good night. This is the easiest move in the raid. It's quite simple. You got a big boy. Look at him. God damn. Fuck me. Look at that boy.